I think is Olutayo Oshin. Tayo has BSc in Sociology and a Master's in Criminology. He's a project manager with years of experience and has certifications in ISO 9001, QMS, and ISO 22301, BCMS. Ladies and gentlemen, with a round of applause in the chat room, please let's welcome our last trainer for today, who will be taking us on in project management on the topic cost management. It promises to be very exciting, so stay calm and get your writing pads ready. Tayo, please, are you on the call?
Yes, I am.
All right, the floor is yours. Please, you can take it off from here.
Merci. Good afternoon. Thank you for the introduction. That was great. Good afternoon, good people of Transformation College. I'm glad to be here. I believe everyone can hear me.
Yes, we can, loud and clear.
Okay, fine. You're welcome to the project management segment. Once again, my name is Olutayo Oshin. Permit me to share my screen, please. Just a moment, please. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Project management, project cost management.
Okay, very well. All right, today we'll be diving into one of the most vital aspects that determine the success of a project, and that is what we have on the screen here, project cost management. But before we dive in, I want us to have at least a background knowledge. You know, this is a topic that is applicable to everyone at the individual level, organization level, and also to the governmental level. It is applicable. It is real life. This is something we can feel. Okay. All right. Let me just give a scenario. As you cannot embark on a traveling vacation without checking your account balance. You know, most Nigerians, especially those that are living in Lagos, when it's December, they always want to go to their hometown. And what a major determinant is your account balance, I believe so. Okay, that is how it is with projects. No project should begin without knowing its cost. Every project needs funding, and managing that fund wisely is critical to the success of that project. So we might ask ourselves, why is project cost management that important? Why is it? The fact is that money is always limited, whether we like it or not. In all endeavor across all spheres, money is always limited. Whether you are dealing or working with a client, a sponsor, government agencies, or MDA, no one has infinite resources. There's always limited resources or money. So the little that you'll be given for, or the budget for each project, it is now determined, or it is now expected that you have to manage what you have been given so that you can achieve your set out goals for that project. That is one point, because money is always limited. Second point is that budgets keep projects grounded. When you have poor budgets, most definitely that project might end up being another white elephant project. That project might get grounded. So cost management ensures resources are used judiciously without waste or without deficits. And thirdly, another important reason is it helps us to measure performance. By tracking your costs, you can actually tell how a project is doing when you have a broad knowledge of cost management. And lastly, before we move on, I would like to say that cost management is the financial heartbeat of every project. It is the financial heartbeat of every project. And I believe this is like the 5th project management class that you have been on. If I may ask, can someone tell me what a project is? Can you quickly type that in the chat room? Or can someone say that? You can unmute and answer, please, if it's possible. Okay, since I'm not getting any response, let's move on. Project cost management. Let me go in. Without proper cost control, even the most brilliant projects can fail. Just like you having your dream house and you have your funds, you have your plans. If you don't get it right with your cost, you might not actually actualize that your dream project. And this is synonymous with most government projects in Nigeria. At your spare time, probably after this call, you can Google list of federal, state abandoned projects, and you see the reasons why they were abandoned. It's always about funding, mismanagement of fund, or poor planning. They did not plan the cost very well, and definitely it will become another white elephant project without seeing the actualization or the fulfillment.
Hello, Tayo.
Yes.
Yes, you have some responses in the chat room.
Oh, okay. Just a moment, please. Okay. Okay, a project is any activity aimed at achieving an output with time bound. Yes, yes, this is very brilliant. A project is actually a temporary effort. You know, there are different approaches to defining what a project is. I like the fact that you use time bound. Every project must have a start and it must have an end. That is the most important part because it's temporary. And all your effort is to achieve a unique, probably product, service, or results. But the most important part is the time bound that you put here, which I really appreciate. Thank you so much, Mr. Stilvin. Okay, so we can move on now. Okay, the objective of this class, at the end of this class, we should be able to know or plan costs and understand the techniques for estimating costs, how to determine and control budgets, then the tools and outputs at each stage. We should be able to explain all of this or understand it very well at the end of this class. Okay. What is project cost management? From what we can see on the screen, it says project cost management involves planning, estimating, budgeting, financing, funding, managing, controlling costs to complete a project within the approved budget. So cost management means more than just knowing your numbers or figures. It's about making sure your project stays financially healthy from the beginning to the end. Just like someone on this call having a plan to have his wedding probably next year. So you start to plan, I believe so, and there's a timeline to that. And you definitely have a budget. Okay, for this wedding, I have 10 million. And everything you want to do has to fall within that 10 million, because if you overshoot that 10 million, you might end up being in serious debt or not even having honeymoon, and or after the wedding, you might be in financial crisis. Okay, that is what project cost management is all about. Okay, it allows us to understand that everything is related to money in a project has to be properly planned. There's the aspect of budgeting and controlling costs. It enables us not to run out of funds halfway into the project or anyway at all. That is what that is all about, what project cost management is about. And also it helps us to answer some key questions like, how much will it cost us to do this project? Where is this money going to? Probably the project is ongoing. You ask yourself, where is this money going to? Then probably you are halfway into the project and you are looking at your funds going down, and you're asking yourself, are we overspending? Are we achieving with what we've spent so far? With all of this, you can control costs before it's too late. That is the purpose of project cost management. Okay, and we can see here there are 4 core processes to process cost management. We have the plan cost management, what this does is the process of defining how the project cost will be estimated, budgeted, managed, monitored, and controlled. And also there's estimate costs. This process of developing an approximation of the monetary resources needed to complete projects, determine budgets. We know what budget is all about. Budgets helps us to, have in mind that this is what we are going to use for the project. Then the last one is to control cost. And the thing here is each stage builds on the previous one to ensure strong financial oversight throughout the project. They are all processes, they overlap, they interact from the first to the last till you achieve your set out goals. That is how this operates. Let's move to the next slide quickly. We can see here, this is the overview of project cost management, showing the 4 core processes. If you notice the diagram very well, you can see that there are interactions. If you look at the arrows, it starts from 1, goes to the 2nd, to the 3rd, to the 4th, like what I said earlier. None is working in silo. They are all interacting. They depend on one another. The output of the first one becomes input to the second one. Like that becomes input to the third one. The output becomes input to the fourth one till you get to end of the project. That is how this will still, I will explain better probably in the course of the lesson, please. Okay, so now let's take it one after the other. We'll start with the plan cost management. Here, what we'll do at this point is we'll create rules of how costs will be managed. This is what this is all about. There's a saying that if you fail to plan, definitely you have planned to fail. This is what this is saying about every project, that you need to set rules. There are different parameters, different controls that you can put in place that will help you throughout the project's lifespan. All right. Here you can decide that, okay, maybe at every month, the approval should come from the CFO, just for you to know that there's a check, or maybe you can decide that there will be a weekly report on funds that have been spent for the week. It's just for you to set rules that will guide you so that you just don't go into the project without having a proper plan. And the input to this is, we can pick from here. You can see the input. Project charter. What is project charter? It's a formal document that authorize the start of projects and provides the project manager with the authority, to have access to organizational resources, or just like normal business person that goes to a company to seek out for loan. You go with your LPO, your local purchase order and all that. So once it's approved, that's like your input here. You are going in with that, and your input will become an output with the aid of the tools and techniques. Here you have the expert judgments. Just like you want to build house or go into construction, you got your approval from Lagos State, you got your building permit. You cannot just go into building. You need some experts. You need to call some experts like structural engineer to come in and give you some perspective on how to go about things, so that you don't fail. You need civil engineer to come in, electrical engineer, and like that. These are the experts that will help you, with what you are coming in. So with that, at the end of the day, you will now have cost management plan. You've got your approval from Lagos State. You have everything to start the project. Now you've got ideas or supports from experts that can help you to begin that project. Now, I believe the structural engineers, they will tell you the amount or give you an idea on cost. So from there, you can plan costs. And by that, you can come about to have a cost management plan. Okay, an example is, also in the office environment, you are building a website or you are developing a website, and in your planning, you decide that all your expenses that is above 1 million must be approved. by probably your line manager or the accountant or the CFO. And like I said earlier, you can decide that, okay, weekly cost reviews will be held where everybody will come together and tell you or discuss the expenditure so far. And also, estimation will use a mix of expert judgment too. When you present to people that know more than you, like your accountant, your supervisor, your CFO, they can tell you that, okay, the money we've released so far, we don't think you've used it judiciously. So all of this will help you at the planned cost management level. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Here we have the estimate cost. Estimate cost. Now we ask, how much will it cost us to get things done? At the plan, we already have a cost management plan in place. Now we have to get estimate costs of everything. Hello? Please, could you mute your mic? Okay, thank you. Thank you. At this point, the question is, how much will it cost to get things done? This is the process of figuring out how much each part of the project will cost. Like I talked about the building, you are into construction, you want to build probably 2-story building. You need to get, please, could you mute the mic, please? You need to get estimates from your electrical engineer, from your civil, from your structural, everyone that work. This is what this is saying, figuring out how much each part of the project will cost. Estimate how much money is needed for people, laborers that work on the site, for the materials, for equipment, getting everything in place. That is what this is talking about. Project plan, okay, you already have the cost management plan, which is a part of the project plan. Project plan is a master document that contains all planning details of how the project will be executed, monitored. Okay, let me explain the techniques that will convert the input to an output. Now you have your rough estimates. So they are analogous estimating. What this is saying is you are using past projects as a guide. Okay, my friend bought a Toyota car last year for 3 million. At least you have a rough estimate in your mind that, okay, with inflation and all that, it should not go more than 3.2 or 3.3. That is what this is saying. And for parametric estimating, this is good when you are buying in bulk. Let's say your company bought that same Toyota Highlander for your senior colleagues. They bought like 10 units at the rate of 3 million. That's 30 million. All you need to do is, you want to buy one, just, divide it and you get 3 million. That is what parametric estimate is saying. You can, break it down and get the price of the units from there. Then bottom up estimating, adding up the cost of individual activities. What this is saying is these methods break down the overall cost into smaller components. Okay, instead of buying the car here at the car lot, you decide to buy directly from America. Okay, you did the calculation, buying directly, you convert the dollar, that would give you 1.8. Shipping to Nigeria will give you, okay, maybe another 500,000, clearing another 500,000, then logistics for you to get your car, that's like another 100,000. You breaking everything down. That is what the bottom up estimating is all about. While the 3-point estimating, okay, it is broken down into 3. You having the best case, okay, because the car was bought just last month by your colleague for 3 million, okay, probably it should still be 3 million. Worst case, because of foreign exchange that is not stable, it could be 4 million. Then most likely, something that is more practical, 3.2 million. That is what this 3 points estimating is about. Then the output, at the end of the day, what you have is a well-documented cost estimate per activity. Because at the point of input, you are coming in with something very rough. But with all these techniques, at the end of the day, you now have a well-documented cost estimate per activity. So you can go to the next process, which is budgets. At least you have idea. Now, like the wedding example I gave, you want your wedding to be on the mainland, and you know basically that it depends on the location. In Ikeja, definitely venue, the Ikeja event center will be more expensive than when you have it in somewhere like Isolo or Igondo. So when you have around Ikeja 2 million, Igondo you have 1 million, you already have something in mind. At least you are working with a figure here. So if you want to go into budget now, at this point you decide to choose the one that is 1 million because of your budget. Okay, you already have a rough figure in mind. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. Okay, we can see what I just explained here, the inputs, your project management plan, cost management plan, you have your scope baseline. You are coming in raw. You don't have much information. But with all these techniques, you can now convert this input to output. At the end of the day, you have cost estimates. Though it is not 100% realistic, but it is close. You have basis of estimates. You have project document updates, assumption log, lessons learned, register, risk register, and all that. That is what this diagram is saying. Okay, now we are moving to the next process, which is to determine budgets. If we remember, we said earlier that these processes, they are relating to one another. They are very connected. The output of one is the input. Like the output of this now, that the cost estimate becomes the input at the determined budget level. Now you have idea. So for you to get your cost baseline, the purpose of determining budget is you want to get a cost baseline. Yes, this is the budget for this project, but you cannot just fix it without putting so many parameters in place. That is what this is speaking to. And we can see here the purpose of this is to create an official cost baseline. And the techniques you use here, cost aggregation, combining all the cost estimates, like for your wedding, cost for DJ, cost for photography, cost for catering, cost for traditional items that you give to the bride's family. At the end of the day, you have to add everything together. Then I said earlier, probably you have 10 million somewhere. Okay, now there's about 8.5 or 9 million. You have to add everything together. That is what this is saying. Then the output is cost baseline and funding requirements. You have a realistic figure that you can work with, even though it's not 100%, but at least something that is close. Let me give you a scenario so we can understand better. Because here we are dealing with total of all cost estimates to set the budget and identify how we'll fund it. The example is a Jeep procurement, which will cost about 5 million. Okay, don't let me I've been using cars. Let's look at, okay, you are a project manager for a local government funded school renovation project. And the scope of your project, your work packages, you have to renovate, let's say 10 classrooms. Then another work package is to replace the roof, the dilapidated roof, then upgrading plumbing and electrical system in the school, then building a new school gate. If you have 4 different work packages, the scope of that project are just these 4 work packages. Okay, so how do you determine budget for this? After going out, getting course and all that, you now spend 1.2 per classroom. If you remember, I said 10 classroom. So for one is 1.2. That is your cost estimate. You start from the estimate. Then for the roofing, you have 5 million. Then for the plumbing and the electrical, you have 3 million. For the gates, you have 1 million. Okay, that's your cost estimate. These are your inputs. Let me move it to the next so we can understand. Input, tool, techniques, and outputs. So your inputs that you are coming in are the cost estimates that you've got for the work packages. Then there's project schedule, because Mr. Steven told us that every project is time bound. So you have to set a timeline for your project. So for this project, let's say that, okay, probably the contractor was given 6 months. 6 months. And that will be about 6 weeks for each deliverable, for each work packages. For the classroom, 6 weeks. For the roof, 6 weeks. For the plumbing and electrical, 6 weeks. For the gates, 6 weeks. That will give you 6 months. So, and you are being paid based on your milestone. Milestone is when you achieve a deliverable. Probably when you finish the classroom, the 10 classroom at the rate of 1.2, they'll pay you like that. That is how it goes. Another input you have is your agreement, your contractual agreement, probably with the government agency that gave you that contract. Those are your inputs. So let's look at the tools and techniques, what you use to calculate your budgets that will convert your input to output. Okay, cost aggregation. At this point, we said that the cost estimate per classroom is 1.2. So now for 10 classroom, that will give you 12 million. While for roofing, it will give you 5 million. And for plumbing and electrical, that will give you 3 million. Then your gate, 1 million. That's subtotal of 21 million. And for you to be a good resource manager, because every project manager has to be also a resource strategist, you cannot just leave it at this 21 million. This is where people get it wrong most times, because they don't factor contingencies. This is where most projects get it wrong. Now you have a budget of 21 million, but you cannot leave it at that. We are in Lagos State. You can decide that, okay, you started work. We have omonile everywhere in Lagos State, and they come to you that, no, you cannot work until you settle them, and they give you a bill of 2 million, and there's no budget for that. That will affect something in the project, and at the end of the day, you might not even be able to deliver at that 6 months. Your money, you might not get your money because you didn't deliver that particular deliverable. So we need to factor in contingency. So for this particular one, like if in Lagos State, even ordinary sand, you want to discharge sand probably in front of your house or your compound, your money levels will come. They will tell you they want to collect money, and there are so many other environmental factors that can actually lead to the budget increments. So for this, I will say that it will be very wise to pen like 10% contingency reserve, which will give us like 2.1. This will weather any storm that might want to come, be it Omonile, be it the traditional people that want to disturb you, that as you have to pay for the Oba in the area, you have to pay for area boys, your truck is coming, settle, stuff like that. Okay. So that will bring the whole project to the cost baseline to 23.1 million. This is very realistic because you cannot put it at that 21 million. In fact, the cement that you bought 11,000 yesterday on Friday, by Monday you can get there and they'll tell you that cement now is 13,000, and you've already worked with 11,000. How will you go back to your clients? They will not look at you as a serious contractor. Okay, that is how it works to determine a budget: the input, the tools and techniques to the output. I don't know, do we understand that? Hello, I need feedback. Are you with me?
Yes, I'm with you, sir. I'm with you, sir.
Okay. All right, very well, very well. Okay, so let's look at, still on this determine budgets. The project will need funding in phases. Like I said, you are being paid based on your deliverables. So for every 6 weeks, probably you get 5 million. For every 6 weeks, just to ensure that funds are released in alignment with your work progress. Okay, then for this, you need to have a risk register. You need to have a risk register because every process has its own risks. There's no way that you want to go into a project like this, a construction, that there won't be risks. It could be labor turnover. It could be the set of labor that you got first day did not come to work and you need to get new set of people, or the new set you got did not agree with the rates that the old ones are getting. Maybe you were paying the old ones 3,000 and these new ones now told you that no, they cannot collect, they are collecting 5,000. So you have to document all of this. Ordinary rain can be a risk. It's not good to construct when it's raining. You might end up using more cement. So rain could be a risk register. Touts, all these touts in your locality too can be a risk. So you need to put all of this in your risk register. And also you need a document. This applies to probably when you are done with the project, lessons learned register. That is after you are done. Okay, that is how this works. So for this project, you need to be very careful. Because when you look around, you see so many abandoned projects here and there. It's not say the person do not wish to finish up the construction of the building. It's because the person has probably shot himself or herself somewhere, probably underquoted, probably did not apply the contingency rules, or and we know the economy is not there. There is inflation, there is foreign unstable foreign exchange. In fact, it's very volatile, very, very volatile. So one needs to be very careful when you are budgeting. When you want to determine your budget, you need to be extra careful. And where you can actually factor all of this is in your contingency. It's not as if you just decide to put 10 million as, no, you have to justify the reason why you want so much for your contingency, that even when you present and you explain, they will understand that, okay, yes, this person is on course. All right, let's progress. The last one is control costs. Okay, we've treated estimates, costs. We've treated just a moment. We've treated estimate costs. We've treated budgets. Now we are talking about control costs. And what this is saying is about checking what you are spending as planned and taking action. You can see this focuses on tracking spending and managing changes to the budget. The truth is, whatever you pen down at the plan cost management, it's possible that it might change. In fact, it will definitely change. It will definitely change. So you have to apply the change management rules, because the change will come here and there, probably at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end, because of what you are doing is reacting to the economy reality. So you have to track spending and manage changes that might apply to your budget. And what this is saying, we can see the techniques here. There are so many. I'll also use a scenario to explain this so we can understand better. Okay, this focuses on tracking spending and making sure that your project stays on budget. Your project is financially healthy. And at this point, even when you're overspending, you can still control, you can still put a control, because at this point you are checking, you are measuring. You want to know, okay, you've spent money. You want to know whether the money has been used judiciously. You want to measure what you have done so far. This is what control cost is all about. And we can see the key formulas: CPI, cost performance index; SPI, schedule performance index; EAC, estimate at completion. There's another one, BAC, budget at completion; output, cost forecast, change requests, updated documents. Okay, for us to understand this, let me use a scenario. We are managing a government project to build a 3-story hospital facility in 8 months. By month 4, you suspected that the project is overrunning its cost baseline. I believe we still remember what cost baseline is. You are now in control cost phase. So we need to analyze what is that thing that has made us to overrun our cost baseline. What exactly has led to that? And the inputs at this point, okay, we can see this is the diagram here. Just a moment, please. A moment, please.
Hello, Tayo. In case you are still talking, you have muted your mic.
No, I actually seek permission. I quickly
Okay.
All right. Okay, from this diagram, we can see also input, tools, and techniques and the outputs. Now, your input here is your project management plan, your project funding requirement. And if you remember, okay, this project, let's put a figure to this project. Your timeline is 8 months. And for a 3-story hospital facility, you were given 200 million. Okay, and 25 million is released monthly based on your project. Okay, and your work performance data, you have spent 10 million so far, but only 40% of the work is done. You have spent, 110 million. The budget is 200 million, and you have spent 110. And that translates, even if you look at that, half of 200 million is 100, and that is 50%. But you have spent 110 million, and you are at 40%. You can actually tell that you have overspent, you have overrun your cost baseline. You know there's a problem at this point. Okay, so how do you now calculate all of this? There's a formula. Okay, probably at the end of the call, I know Messi will share the slide. You can check is at the back at your leisure time. You can go through it, but I will explain here. The first one is your end value analysis. Let me quickly go to that page so you can see that. A moment, please. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. End value terms. You calculate your key performance indicators. We can see at the experts judgment data, end value analysis, variance analysis, trend analysis. These are how you can actually know how you stand. And to calculate your EVA, what you need to do is your planned value, because you've worked for 4 months and that should be 100, you spent 110 million. That is the actual cost. That is AC. Your planned value is 100 million. That should be half. Half of 200 million is 100. That's 50%. So your planned value is 100 million. That is work planned by month 4. That is what you should achieve. While your end value is the actual value of completed work. The actual value of the completed work. Okay, you've done your foundation, you are going through 3-story, done foundation, you've done the first level, 4-story, and you have spent 80 million for what you have done. You still have the second, you still have the third, you still have the roof, but for just foundation and the first level, you have spent 80, and your actual cost is 110 million that you have spent. You need some documentation, some other things that you spent on. That is 110 million. So to get your CPI, your cost performance index, what you need to do is to divide your EV, your end value, which is 80 million, the actual value of completed work. You divide it by the actual cost that you have spent, and that will give you 0.73. That will give you 0.73. Okay, while your schedule performance index, SPI, that is end value divided by your PV, planned value, by month 4, you should be at 50%. You should be at 50%. So now if you divide 80 of the actual value of completed work so far by what you should have ideally for 4 months, that will give you 0.80. This means that you are over budget and behind schedule from these results. And to calculate your variance analysis, your cost variance, CV, is EV, your end value, minus your actual cost, which is 80 million minus 110 million. That means you are short of 30 million. You have used 30 million over budget already, which will not be good for the health of the projects at all. So for forecasting, what you do at this point is estimate at completion, EAC, is equals to budget at completion divided by cost performance index. That is 200 million, the total cost of that project, divided by the CPI that we got 0.73. This will give you 273 million. So you now expect the total project to cost you 273 million if this trend continue. If you continue the way you are working, giving 200 million and you've done just foundation and first floor, if you continue that way, you are going to overshoot that 200 million by 73 million. That is the calculation. That is how to get the calculation. 73 million. We can see that this is already going south. This is not healthy at all. It's not good for the life of the project. If care is not taken, it might be another abandoned project, because you were given 200 million and so far you have spent 273 million by the end of the project. If you continue the way you are going, you spend. So this 73 million, what led to that? This is what these tools and techniques will teach us, will let us know, it will inform us, so we can go back to the drawing table. Even though it's bad, but it's not all bad too, because even the person that gave you the contract understands the economy. So you can go back and meet them that this is the situation on ground. These are the factors that led to this. This is the deficit. When you are truthful, they can actually see. So when you use these tools and techniques, it will not convert to your output, and your output will not be your work performance information, the summary of the analysis, the CPI as your 0.73, your SPI as 0.80, and actual estimate actual at completion is 273. So you can now go back to the management of your company or to your clients to have a cost forecast using a updated projection to show the need for an extra 73 million. Or you can also decide, I remember Femi talking about root cause analysis, looking at what led to this 73 million. You can actually narrow it down. Is it the equipment? Is it the materials? What actually led to that? Is it that you did not plan for contingency? By getting these results or these answers, you can forecast. And by doing that, there's already a change from what you already planned. So you need to fill a change request form. You submit a formal request, probably to your clients, to increase the budget. That based on these factors, these are the reasons why we are behind. You can ask for them to increase the timeline of the project probably to 10 months, and by doing so, they should please help you with 73 million for this project to be complete. You give them, you cannot go to clients and just say that the 200 million you gave me is not enough. But with all this calculation, even when you show them, they will say that, okay, yes, this is real, because the economy is not, I don't want to say something bad. It's very funny. It's not stable. The nature of the economy is prices are not just stable. What you can get this week is not the same price you get next week, and that will affect projects basically. We are not even talking about corruption. We are not talking of negligence here. We are talking about, you, even when you are upright, getting prices or correct prices. That is what we are talking about here. Then another output you have here is project management plan update. You already have a project management plan, but based on this change, you need to go and update. You need to go and adjust the cost baseline, because the cost baseline you had before will not apply. You can actually leave that there, but you now update with the current one. And also your performance measurement baseline. You need to include all of this. Project document updates. And before we even go forward, anything about projects, it has to do with a lot of documentation. You need to document everything at every point, at every work package, at every deliverable. You need to document. So the last one you can see is the project documents update. You have assumption log, you have basis of estimates, you have cost estimates, lessons learned register, you have risks register. Okay, this is how this runs out at the control cost level. Okay, the final thought here is project cost management is not just about money. It's not just about money. Money is about funds, but it's about decisions. It informs us to take the right decisions when it comes to achieving what we have set out, achieving the success of that project. Every financial choice in a project is a reflection of the priorities, the planning, and the precision that has been put in place. Because if you don't plan enough, it's not just your project might not even, you might not get it right at all. So the financial choice in every project, I'm repeating that, is a reflection of our priorities. So we need to get it right. This is what project cost management is all about. This is an overview summary of project cost management. Do we have questions? Do we have questions? These are the summary table that I said that you can look at your leisure time. You can see the calculations here. And these are the project documents updates. Do we have questions? Do we have questions? Mr. Steven, any question from your side or any observation, any addition?
All right, Tayo, you have a question. Yes, you have a.
Okay. Okay, let me see. Sir, based on your explanation on the collecting of contracts.
Yes, let me read out the question. Yes, or you check in the chat room.
Yes, I'm doing that. Okay, from what you're saying here, the question is reference to inflation in the cost material. Are you saying the right thing is to add extra cost? You cannot add extra cost at every point. There's a baseline, cost baseline. It's not the actual one. Probably at this point, you can just say that.
Hello,
Okay.
sir. Hello, sir. I'm
Okay.
not saying we should add the extra cost. As in, when we are doing the budgeting before even starting, should we give room to accommodate that increase ahead
Yes.
before the commencement of the project?
Yes. If cement is 13,000, you can peg it at 15,000. You are accommodating, any increments that might come up. So even when you have the 2,000, you can still channel that to other things. But if you put it at 13,000, knowing what is happening in the country, you might shoot yourself in the leg. So you need to put that allowance, even while at the level of estimates, while you are doing your estimate before you get to the budget itself. Estimate is not actual. You are approximating. Okay. Let me see the second question. Okay, still the same question. Any other question, please? Yes, Mercy will share the slides with you after this call. She will share with you. Any observation or what have we learned today at all? Please put it in the chat box, what you've learned at all. Let me know your thoughts, please. Okay, if there's an SS fund, that's good for you. If you actually quoted 200 million and you end up using 180 million, as a contractor, that's profit for you. That's profit for you. And you are able to achieve the deliverables. That's a good one. If you're a big contractor, a client cannot expect you to put 13,000, the actual price. It's almost impossible. It's almost impossible. We are not talking about, a renovation of maybe just an individual or residential apartment. You are talking about a big project. So they always understand and they leave room as long as you are not doubling the price or giving outrageous estimates, which might look like you are a criminal, but you are putting allowance of 1,000, 2,000 is okay. It's very, very okay. Because at the end of the day, when you buy the cement, there's still transportation cost to it. We are not talking about buying one bag of cement, we are buying a whole lot. Yes, it's professional. It's not as if you are padding your budget, but you are just being realistic. You are adding a little to it. But the fact is, if you quote 10 million and you spent 9.5, do you think if you go back to the client will take you as a serious person? So when you are asking, is this professional? The client might not see you as a professional. You are underquoting. So when you are doing a contract, it is allowed to, there's always little provision for that. Is that understood, sir? Oh, ma. Any other question before we close? Okay. Madam Mercy, can I hand over to you? Okay. Wow. Thank you, Mr. Steven. But this is a real life thing. It applies to us. Even if you want to buy a phone, you set out 2-3 months and you start saving towards that. That is a project too. Is a temporary effort that is undertaken, to achieve a result or a product or a service. If you want to buy a car, even if you want to rent an apartment, this is a project in Lagos with the trouble of all these agents. So you have to plan, get your estimates right, then your budgets, you have to get it right. Yeah, I think we are good. Madam Mercy, can I hand over to you now? Thank you so much, everyone.
All right, please, a round of applause to our trainer. Please, let's keep the appreciation coming. I think he has done justice to this course. Thank you, Ademola. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you, Blessing. Thank you for sticking by from morning up till now. I believe you've gotten value for your time. Thank you, Relua. Thank you, Frank. All right. Thank you, everyone, for sticking till this time. So in order to just repeat myself, or let me just give a summary of the announcement I gave earlier. So if you're on the call and you have not registered and you enjoy the class and you wish to continue, please, today is the deadline for registration. So please do well to register. After today, we'll not be attending to anything registration again. And then for those of us who are yet to pay our registration fee, from 26th of July, the class is going to be restricted to only those who have paid. This means that if you're on the general platform, it means that the materials, the recording and everything will no longer be sent there, but we can always send you the link to the class. All right, but the materials will no longer be sent there. So if you're on the call and you've not paid your registration fee, do so before the deadline. All right, and once you do that, send your proof of payment to the mail as instructed. Okay, and for some of us who have paid and maybe you have not joined the paid group, or your receipt has not been issued back to you, you can chat the number here in the chat room. But first of all, check your mail, because we've responded to a lot of mails. We have sent you a lot of mails, but you have not responded. That's why some of you are still asking certain questions. So please check your mail, or you chat this WhatsApp number. Okay, and then what else? For those of us that you have not yet done your assessment, if you are on the general group, the links to the assessment has been sent. From the very first class or from the time you have joined, the link has been sent for all of our classes, the materials as well. But if you feel like you have not seen it, after this class now, I'm going to repost from day 1 up till today, after which I will not attend to that after today. So please, if you are on any of these groups, pay attention to whatever information that is going to be sent there. Okay? Do not do your assessment late so that we can capture your records on time. Because we'll not record, after recording, we'll have to go back and search for your own record. So please do your assessment on time. And for those of you still having issues with the ISO, like I said earlier, try as much as you can to get your ISO assessment right. So if you have, I think you have just 2 or 3 trials, after which you'll not be able to do it again. So as much as you can, complete all the modules before taking the exams. I believe this is understood. Please, if you understand what I just